Welcome to Baat Pachisi. On Baat Pachisi, we are discussing a very important technical subject of the Indian manufacturing capabilities, which used to be there, like Hindustan machine tools, uh, making all kind of machinery from tractor to workshop machinery to watches, and how that affected the capability of Indian manufacturers making components, and also the service industry in the machine tools, in repair, and also in the manufacturing. But over a period of time, those it is a representative of what kind of leadership they had, and because HMT, nearly closed down, they don't have the operation. I have visited their plant in Ajmer, machine tools. So, to discuss this important technical issue, we have with us an old friend, a batchmate from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh, Mr. Rakesh Jinsi. So let's welcome him and we talk further. Welcome, Rakesh ji. How are you doing? Nice to have you here.
Great, thank you. Wonderful to see you again, and
Yeah,
nice to have me
most
in this conversation here today.
most welcome, Rakesh ji. So, you have seen, your long experience in steering manufacturing companies or in automobile sectors, and then going into other, uh, areas like entrepreneurship, development, and social work. So, if we focus right from the beginning on the large public sector enterprises, which used to, exist and had a strong presence when you and me started our career, whenever we used to say to judge component manufacturer or a supplier, we used to ask the what kind of machine do you have. If you have HMT machines, then we can talk further, otherwise no, right?
Correct,
So,
correct,
and
correct.
you must have seen closely the HMT Pinjor. So please take it ahead, this, and how it was and why it went down, because being a competitor, you know much more information than generally people have.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Madhav. This is a very interesting topic, and let me start off uh, with a fact which all of us, especially from our passing out times. The public sector was one of the best employers at that point in time. The entire recruitment process of public sector undertaking was so intense and so robust. And at the end of the day, if anybody, whoever used to get selected by a public sector undertaking, that used to be, this guy he's really made it. So that was the situation when we passed out. I'm talking about late 70s,
Yeah.
because most of the real manufacturing was with the public sector, and largely because the investments required were very high. Uh, Privatization was not that strong.
Mm.
Government also was with a socialistic approach, and
Mm.
hence most of the large scale investments and infrastructure development programs, projects were with the government.
Mhm.
So, and that's when we had all these large undertakings. Hindustan Machine Tools, they
Mm.
actually started off as a machine tool organization. It was actually named as Hindustan Machine Tools. And then when they added other product lines like tractors, watches, obviously they couldn't have called themselves as Hindustan Machine Tools. They shortened the name to HMT Limited, and
Mm.
that way they could continue with all other businesses. So whether it is them or it is BML or BHEL, all these were giant employers, and it was really one of the. I mean, the guys who used to get selected here, they was. I mean, the seniors and the toppers of the class, they used to get selected there. So from that stage, you are today where the person who by and large does not have any other employment opportunities, would probably land up into a public sector undertaking. By and large, I'm not saying exceptions are always there. So this is a, from one extent of the spectrum, you have gone to the other extreme. And this whole journey, I would say, uh, in many ways is unfortunate. There was a situation when the public sector undertaking, they were very strong, and that was largely the times when competition was almost non-existent. Everything was with the government, and obviously government will decide what product to come in, which company should do which product. And whether it was BHL, BML, HMT, all of them, they had their protected markets and protected area of activities. Nobody else was able to do. Even when watches came in, HMT was the only manufacturer of watches. There was hardly anybody in the private sector. So with the result, whatever the PSUs did, it was the benchmark, and that is how they survived. And they just didn't survive, they were doing extremely well. But as privatization started, competition came in. Say, for example, HMT, which was into tractors. I remember when I was in Eicher Tractors, HMT was way ahead of most of the tractor manufacturers in the country because their
Sure.
product was good. They had a wide range. They had the government backing, and they had a large manufacturing infrastructure, so they could produce much more than any of the other private manufacturers could do. With the result, they had a very, very strong. In fact, if I remember right, in those initial stages, they were almost the market leaders. I think they used to come only after Escorts, or maybe Escorts. After Escorts, it used to be HMT. Now that was the situation at that time. Gradually, what happened once more and more competitors came in, Mahindra started, TAFE started, Punjab Tractors came in, Eicher, of course, was there, and then there were a couple of more. With the result that the moment competition started, it meant that they had to become far more flexible. They had to come out with new products. They had to respond far more quickly to the market, which, because of the government management involvement, obviously they could not do. And I'm sure the same was the situation with BML. BML, of course, through my association with Tatra India, I interacted quite intensely with BML. The same was the situation there, or many other uh, uh, PSUs. And if, in retrospect, if we look and try to analyze what led to it, primarily the reason for it is that the deep involvement of the government in the management and to day-to-day running of the organization. That is where the problem for each of these organizations started. And government involvement was there, government approvals were required. People there in the government, they were either not aware or they were too distant from the operation of the company, and hence either the decision making was too late, too slow, or it was inappropriate. With the result, uh, very, very quickly, the market strength, the product strength of all these companies went down, and today most of them are out of the market. Whether it is HMT tractors, whether it is HMT watches, or I don't know, BML for that matter. They had wonderful manufacturing tie-ups with some of the best earth-moving equipment manufacturers in the world. All of them lost out. So it is a classical example of the government getting too involved in the running of an organization. And this conversation is on the premise that there is a PSU or the government is already involved in an organization. Obviously, If the decision point is that should the government be there or should the government not be there in business, the answer is very clear and simple. Government should not be in business. It has absolutely no business to be in business. But if the starting point is that the government is already there, you have a public sector undertaking. How do we make it more efficient? How do we make it more profitable and sustainable? I think there is a very simple way of doing it. If the government can replicate and just be like any other investor in a private limited or a, so to say, a company where there are a large number of shareholders, if the government says that our role is only to protect the shareholders' interest, we are only a shareholder. The running of the company is given to the people who have been employed. They are professionals. There is a managing director, there is a senior leadership team. We leave it to them. How do we ensure that the governance is right? We have our directors on the board, and through those board directors, we see to it that the governance is right, and we let the management team to do what they are supposed to do. If this sort of a structure or insulation is done, I find no reason why a public sector undertaking can also not be successful. I have an example here.
Mhm.
You're aware of this company Titan watches?
Yes, yes, of course.
I don't think many people are aware that Tamil Nadu government has 25 or 30% shareholding and rest is
Yes.
with Tata.
Mhm.
And of course, there is something with the public also. Now there you see how successful Titan has been not only in India, it has now become an international organization with the range of watches and the profitability of that organization being so good. And this is despite that there is a high degree of government shareholding. It is only because Tamil Nadu government has clearly told Tatas, you run the organization, we are there only as a shareholder. We are not involved in the day-to-day running of the company. There is a senior management team headed by a managing director. Managing director runs, he reports to the board. That is how the thing operates. For all practical purposes, in a way, it is also a public sector undertaking. Yet, it has, it is known and it works just like any other private organization. That is the sustainable way for the private sector to operate in India. If the private sector has to continue.
Very nice, Rakesh. You have put it in a given a great perspective and the whole history from tractor manufacturing to watches. And how that transformation has happened because the Tamil Nadu government did not interfere into day-to-day function. But we know the example of Air India, which was established by Tatas, and then it was nationalized in 1953, and then gradually, somewhere along the way, started huge money. At one point of time, it was losing 25 crores per day, and it was
Correct.
to be privatized somewhere in 2002, 3 or 4, but eventually it happened few years ago. So all
Correct.
these for 20 years the public money was simply wasted to maintain some kind of socialistic mindset, or the trap
Correct.
which our leadership has been for whatever reason all across the political spectrum. But now,
Correct.
if we, before coming to the present situation where the market capitalization of these public sector companies have, multiplied by 2 to 3 times. In case of Hindustan Aeronautics, it has gone exponential. The share
Correct.
was to be, around 1,200,000 rupees. Now, combined before the split, it is around 7,000 rupees now. Combined, before split, if you take, then it is around 6,500. So this
Correct.
transformation has happened recently. But at the same time, there are very few moments where a senior executive who had hands-on experience like you and who has seen a public sector, very strong public sector unit going down as your company and other competitors were growing by leaps and bounds. So, what could be the one reason is that the politicians use these public sectors to all kind of benefits, from pushing people to into eternal employment and making so many other deals which are simply beneficial to them but bad for the unit, bad for the shareholders, bad for the public at large. So what is the basic, because you have seen it happening for so many decades.
So, of course, one is this social orientation or trying to uh, do take populistic measures for their own benefit. So that is one aspect. Now we go back to the actual operations of running the business. So you need flexibility in decision making, you need flexibility in responding to the market, you need flexibility in being able to come out with new products which are in line with what the customer wants. You need to respond to the moves of the competition, which may be commercial, which may be technical, which may be of any type. But if you are not able uh, to respond to what is happening in the market, whether through the competition or through the customer or anything else, if your hands are tied, then how can you expect to really compete? And as you are unable to compete, gradually you become weak, and there comes a day when you almost are dead. So that is typically, I would say, the story of public sector undertakings, especially in the field where there are a large number of private players. If you are in a strategic field, say for example, it is controlled to a great extent. Say for example, banking is quite tightly controlled. Or say for example, aeronautics needs huge investments, and there is a large consumption, and government is one of the largest customer. Now in such type of businesses, you have continued protection. But those products, those businesses which are already thrown open to the private, you don't have such protection, and hence those are the areas where PSUs are unable to compete, and they actually fade away. So really, the issue, the aspect is, ideally, the business, that government should get out of business unless and until it is for any strategic purpose. And wherever you are, you try and maintain, you try and give the flexibility and autonomy to the management team, that they they are able to do what they think the business needs. And as far as the board is concerned, whether it is a political board or whichever it is, board is involved only in governance related decisions. Everything else is left to the management team. If that sort of an approach can be adopted by the government, probably PSUs will still be able to perform well.
That's right. That's right. That is very good. Very nice and balanced analysis you have shared. One more thing, that we all are aware that what kind of, when we see pictures of closed down heavy engineering corporation Ranchi, it has become a graveyard of huge machinery, which excites so many of us who are there, been in manufacturing. Well, these machines can do this and that, and it is, I mean, very sad to look at the closed down large sheds having graveyard machines with all the rusting and dust. And that has definitely caused by political interference, pushing of incompetent people in leadership positions in some organization, who are a part of the degradation of that working culture, and also some kind of siphoning of the resources in so many ways. Same is has the story, some colleague, from was talking about the coal India, which used to happen. But now
Right.
things are different because of the decision taken by the, because previously we used to think that okay, this company is going to be privatized and its share used to skyrocket, 5-10% in few weeks. But now these 12, 13 companies, they have already appreciated, because that capacity has been utilized very cleverly by the government, by giving them the freedom and better leadership, that they have outperformed. The standing example is HAL, and
Correct.
actually